your 19 First Alert forecast.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, taking a live look outside from our First Alert network of cameras, and the upper left shows you exactly why we don't do spring training in Northeast Ohio. A lot of snow out there in Crusher Stadium. Let's welcome in 19 First Alert meteorologist Andy Chillian. Andy, we've got to worry about some snow in the very near future, and this is what you guys call a system snow, meaning everybody should see something.
Yeah, we're getting a quick clipper moving through tonight, so that will leave another, in some cases, coating of snow, maybe up to an inch or two in some spots as we head overnight. Right now, the snow not melting as easily because we are staying below freezing. There has been some sunshine, though, as you saw on those First Alert cameras, so at least something to brighten the mood a bit. But it's definitely cold out there. Temperatures in the 20s, feeling like the teens. In some cases, it feels like still 10 degrees in Canton, so the wind is elevated, and it's going to stay pretty blustery through the rest of the day. In fact, winds will continue to increase as we head overnight tonight when that clipper with a cold front does move through. We've seen the flurries generally taper off. The lake effect is finally done for us, and with that is leaving some breaks in the clouds. So we'll talk about the next thing to impact our area, which is that brief burst of snow tonight. It's going to all be overnight, so nothing going on the rest of the day. Temperatures taking a bit of an unusual trend. They're going to continue rising even after dark. So we rise to around 30, 31 degrees. Here's midnight, and we do have that burst of snow moving in. Notice it will include our entire region, all the way from Ashtabula down to Mansfield, and it could be heavy at times, so just watch the roads. This is one of those situations where roads may quickly become coated, but temperatures will continue to be generally hovering a degree or two above freezing. So I do expect most accumulation to be on those grassy and elevated surfaces. This will quickly taper as we head overnight. I'd say the morning commute tomorrow should not be too much of a concern. There may still be a little bit of slush left over on some roads, but for the most part, we're in the mid-30s. Crews will have had time to clear the roads. You can see by 7 a.m. when things start to get going with the morning rush, we're just going to see the snow taper, maybe a few lingering flurries. And as we head throughout the day, we could see a few flakes, but temperatures will be well in the 30s, if not making a run near 40 degrees. So we will be well above freezing tomorrow, and I'm not expecting much in the way of accumulation, certainly during the day. So a look at that snow tracker. It's pretty easy. Most of us getting an inch or less, trace to an inch. We'll put 1 to 2 inches generally east of 77, whereas you saw in the First Alert Future View, that could linger a little bit longer. But this is generally during the overnight hours. So again, the evening commute tonight is fine. The morning commute tomorrow, again, maybe a few slushy spots, but overall, I'm not seeing any major concerns. So right now, we don't have a First Alert weather day for this system, as we've certainly been through far worse before this season.
Unfortunately, that is correct. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll look at the 7-day just on the other side. And welcome back. Another look at the cameras. There is some sunshine in downtown Cleveland, just some thin clouds there. 19 First Alert meteorologist Andy Chillian walking us through the next 7 days.
Yeah, lots of ups and downs on this one, so we're not locked into cold or warmth like we've been the past few weeks, either one. So here we go. Tomorrow we're going to be near 40, so that snow that's on the ground will begin to melt. We could see a few flakes early. We're colder Thursday, especially in the morning. Notice 19 degrees there. We're just above freezing during the afternoon. Real nice Friday and Saturday. Lots of sunshine. We're near 50 degrees. I wouldn't be surprised if areas away from the lakeshore do get to the 50s or a bit higher. We may end up seeing a bit of a lake breeze scenario through again like we saw last week. And then here comes the cold again. Ironically, for the first couple days in March, we're not going to be able to get above freezing. I know we've been watching a few systems that don't really look to be much of an impact anymore. You may have heard us talking about a system on Thursday. That looks to just be falling apart. If anything, it'll go to our south. So I'm not concerned about that. Sunday looks fine. Monday's the next system to watch. Could be a few snow showers with that. Then changing back over to rain on Tuesday as we're back into the mid-40s, which is closer to seasonable out there. So lots of ups and downs, as I said, not locked into the warmth or cold. We'll get a little cold shot for the first couple of days of March. But right now, Dan, dare I say, long-term pattern in March, at least through mid-March, looks to favor warmer temperatures than not. So we may finally be turning the corner out of this cold spell. Just have to get through a few days over the next 7.
You're the expert. Sunday, Monday, the first part of March, 29-30. Is that in like a lion or is that in like a lamb?
You know what? Okay, so it would come in, I guess that's a tough one. It might be coming in like a lion, especially if we have some of that snow on Mondays. So it's come in like a lion, go out like a lamb, right, I think is the term. So hopefully we'll end March on a quiet note.
There you go. 19 First Alert meteorologist Andy Chillian, thanks for the update. We'll see you at 3 o'clock.
All right, sounds good.
We do have 3.5 hours of news and First Alert weather coming up at 3 o'clock. In just about 5 minutes, we're going to have a hearing in the Ruth Miller case. That is the Amish mother who is accused of drowning her own 4-year-old son in Atwood Lake last summer. She's having one of her last pre-trial hearings before what could be a trial in early March. So we're going to have that for you live coming up here right at about 2 o'clock. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Hope you have a good afternoon. Do we have a live source for this yet? Is that 3?
Hello. Hi, if you would like minute 3, I see.
Yeah, I have 2 separate mics. They're having us put them up on this railing here, so I have a one and a stick.
Okay, I'm hearing volume come out of this channel, so pretty good.
Can you ask if there's an indication?
Perfect.
Rachel, can you ask if it looks like it's going to go on time?
And I think
Does it look like it's going to go on time? Can you ask?
Matthew, don't want to know if it looks like it's going to go on time.
Gotta deal with sleepy people in a crabby mood.
I believe it's going to start on time, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
And that was always that awkward dynamic. He had to switch hats.
CG is up.
A lot of the stories were. So he's got a report as a reporter or a journalist to do his photography in such a way, and then on the other shift he's the officer handling the case. I mean, usually it wasn't, where he was working on the case, where he would work, as a photographer. That wasn't usually something. I mean, I can't remember any kind of situation like that, but yeah. that's pretty rare that happens. Trying to think if we had a story. It was about a month or two ago. I lose track of time. There was a guy. He did something. He was doing something in Stark County. Then he got into a tussle with one of your deputies, like the next day or that day.
Yes. What I actually think it's New Philly Police Department.
Right. Oh, New Philly. Okay.
Yeah. We were all there at that point.
Right.
I was about to say. He stole something from the Dollar General in Stark County.
Oh yeah. He's accused of the armed robberies. That's right. And then he got into initially it wasn't clear if it was the same guy.
It's the same guy.
If any cop in here is in trouble, obviously you guys are going to back each other up.
Right.
It's the horrible dangerousness of what you guys do, dealing with people.
Have you sit in any of these open spots here? You guys can use those two if you want to.
week's famous.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. I want to take you live to Tuscarawas Court. Ruth Miller has just been seated there. Ruth Miller is the mother on trial, facing murder charges of her own 4-year-old son. You'll remember this from Tuscarawas County from last August. The husband and father had gone to Atwood Lake on some sort of religious pilgrimage with their family. They were questioning their faith. They are Amish. And the father and mother put themselves through a number of trials, is what they told investigators, to try and test their faith in God. For one, they tried to walk on water. That obviously didn't work. And it supposedly, to Ruth Miller, proved that they weren't being faithful. She then is accused of throwing her 4-year-old son in the lake. He would drown. The husband drowned trying to swim himself in one of his challenges. This is a pre-trial hearing, so let's take you live into court.
I would schedule a final pre-trial to meet with lawyers, to find out from them as to what has been taking place, and most importantly, how they anticipate that we are going to be proceeding in these matters. They tell me that this is a case in which I should anticipate that this is going to be going in the way of a bench trial, which would mean I would be deciding the outcome as opposed to a jury. Right to a jury trial is a fundamental constitutional right that everyone would have in a felony case. So to get to that point of having a bench trial, it would require that we have a dialogue about waiving of that constitutional right. But before I launch into that discussion about right and waiving that right, I think it's best that I hear from the lawyers in this case to make sure I'm on the right page. And if I am, then we'll have that discussion. Ruth, I'm going to start with your side here first, and then I'll hear from this side of the room next as to what their expectations are. So, Ian and Madeline, whoever wishes to begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Your Honor, you are correct. There would be a waiver today making this proceeding a bench trial in response to what has been stipulated to by the parties and is being admitted to you for your consideration. That is a list of 5 exhibits which the state is providing to you. Exhibit 1, mostly made up of that discovery, police reports, and the like. And then exhibits 2 through 4 are the mental status evaluations. The first by District 9, that which you called for and was performed by Dr. Hrinko, Hrinko. The report from Dr. Hatters, Hatters Friedman, Friedman. There is no relation, just to be clear. And then third, the mental health evaluation by the expert, Dr. Merritt, Marett, that was engaged by the state of Ohio. Those 3 reports all concluded and opined that Ruth Miller was not guilty by reason of insanity at the time of the conduct in this case and could not appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct at that time. Parties agreed to and stipulate to the authenticity of the reports, the content therein, and to the findings. And so we bring that to your attention along with Exhibit 5, which is a zip drive containing statements that were made by Ruth Miller to Captain Fisher at in the date in question, the date of the incident. It is our expectation as we go forward. Attorney Grant and I, at this point, are not calling certain witnesses for the bench trial, as we'll be relying upon your evaluation of the records that are being submitted to you. That if you accept the stipulation by the parties at the hearing that Ruth Miller was in fact, and just for brevity's sake, NGRI at the time, we would then move on to placement hearing at the time that Your Honor sets. So for all those reasons and for the findings that are contained in, and it was unanimous, there were no experts that opined differently. Because of that, the defense at this point is going to rely upon presentation-wise for the bench trial to that which is being submitted to you only. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, on behalf of the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Friedman did accurately depict our discussions. As you know, I've taken over the case for Mr. Steyer, who's going to be taking the bench across the hall in a couple days. I did put together a list of the police reports that I believe, most of the supplements that I believe describe the conduct, so that you have information to make a determination that Ms. Miller did indeed commit the acts with which she's accused. And that's about 42 pages. And then there are 3 mental status evaluations. One obviously conducted by the court's psychiatrist, one then conducted by the defense psychiatrist, and then one conducted by a psychiatrist hired by the state of Ohio. Given the findings, as all 3 opined for various reasons, that Ms. Miller did not appreciate the wrongfulness of her conduct and was suffering from this severe mental illness or defect at the time of the offense. Given that, we have decided to submit this case to you for a non-jury trial, for you to review those matters and make an appropriate finding. And as he indicated, I've also included a zip drive containing the 2 interviews that Ms. Miller gave to Captain Fisher, the Tuscarawas County Sheriff's Department. So we are in agreement that there's a stipulation as to the authenticity and the admissibility of all these documents, I believe. And with that stipulation, we would not plan on submitting any other evidence next week or at whatever the trial date is. And we would just rest and wait for your conclusion.
Okay. All right. With that recitation, then, Ruth, let me tell you what I believe, what I anticipate as far as how this case will proceed, and then I'll have a discussion with you, so that you know how this matter is proceeding before you waive any type of fundamental right. So what they've said to me is that, and what I think they are anticipating is that there are 5 exhibits that they want me to consider. A couple of police reports and 3 expert reports. One that I ordered, which I've already seen. One that you had acquired through your counsel that I have not read. And the report that was generated by the state that I have not read. And I don't know how long they are, but I know they're going to take a little bit of time to review, along with a lengthy police report. My expectation is that they want me to consider those, read through those. I'm not going to be admitting them. Today is not the trial, but they're essentially giving them to me as a preview to look at. We would then come back next week to conduct what I refer to as a bench trial. It is a non-jury trial, as the state has called it. Bottom line is, there wouldn't be 12 people sitting in those chairs over there, listening to evidence, listening to argument of counsel, it would be decided by me, and it would be decided based upon those 5 exhibits that I'm going to be receiving from the attorneys in this case. Ruth, you have an absolute right to have this matter decided by 12 citizens. The way that would work is that the room would be filled up about 50, 75 people. And from those people, we would pick 12 that would sit over there in those chairs. And your attorney and the state's counsel would have the opportunity to inquire of those 12 people to find out whether they can be fair and impartial. And ultimately, after going through however many people we have here, the court and the counsel settled upon 12. And those 12 would listen, and at the end of the case, they would be given the opportunity to deliberate or go off in a separate room and consider what they've heard. It would require all 12 of those individuals to be unanimous in their opinion that you were guilty before you could be found guilty in this case. That's an absolute right that you have. But we all have constitutional rights, and we all can waive those constitutional rights. The key is that we make that decision knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. Ruth, have you had an opportunity to discuss this matter? And I'm not interested in what was said. I'm just interested in knowing, did you have a full and fair opportunity to discuss that matter with your attorneys? I just need you to answer out loud, Ruth.
Yes.
Okay. And do you feel as if all of the questions and any concerns you may have with that right were answered by your attorneys?
Yes.
And you have confidence in their representation and any advice that they have given to you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand then, that, Ruth, that I'm asking you at this time if it is your intention to give up that right to having the matter decided by that jury or 12 individuals? Okay. And is it your intention to waive that right to have the case decided by a jury? Okay. Then, Ruth, I'm going to provide you with this form, and it's just reflecting what we have discussed here today. But I want you to take a moment, if you need, to discuss the matter further with your attorney to make sure that you have all your questions answered. All right, the record should reflect then that the waiver of right to jury was signed by Ruth Miller here in open court, in which she indicates, I, Ruth Miller, defendant in the above reference case, hereby voluntarily waive my constitutional right to a trial by jury on the felony criminal charges contained in the indictment in this case, and consent to the trial of the criminal charges to Judge Michael J. Ernest. I have not been forced or in any way coerced in the exercise of this waiver. And then, just to confirm, Ruth, you signed this document, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to accept that waiver of the right to trial by jury. And we already have a date that is set for next Tuesday. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me.
It's March 3rd at 10.
Thank you. March 3rd at 10, set for a status conference. And that's the date we were going to utilize now for the bench trial, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. Then what will happen is, Fred, if you could provide me with that, the exhibits that you want me to consider for the ruling of the bench trial.
Your Honor, if I may inquire, so we're to expect that day a verdict from you
Exactly.
on that day, so
Absolutely.
Tuesday.
That is the reason that and for everyone, I want to make sure that I read all of the pages that we have here, and it's simply not going to work that we all sit around and watch Judge Ernest read this for the next 2-3 hours. So I want to be able to have the opportunity to actually read through it, and I intend to then issue the verdict on that day after hearing further from anything that attorneys wish to make as far as arguments or to be heard. I'm not trying to cut off any other evidence if there is something else you want me to consider, but it's my understanding that both parties simply want me to consider these 5 exhibits and would be stipulating to those at the time of the bench trial.
On behalf of Ms. Miller, that is correct, Your Honor.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm anticipating too. It's just that I want to actually be able to read through these in my chambers and not rush through this and get a full understanding of what's in here, because, like I said at the outset, I have not seen what your expert has generated or what the state of Ohio has generated in this case. I heard what they said, so it's not going to be a surprise as far as their conclusion. I heard Attorney Friedman, so I'm anticipating where this is going, but I want to actually read it. Understood? Do you have any questions for me, Ruth? Okay. Counsel, any questions?
No, thank you for your clarity.
Okay. Fred?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then we will see everyone back here in approximately a week for that bench trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Dan DeRose with 19 News here as we see the attorneys for Ruth Miller giving an explanation for what just happened. And I want to be cautious here because while I've covered a lot of court, obviously I'm not an expert here, but after just witnessing the instructions that were just given by the judge here, we're talking about Judge Michael Ernest. This is going to be very unique. And I just want to make sure there's nothing left here in court to be discussed. From my understanding of what we just heard in court, and as we see family members there in the courtroom, I just want to stay with this a little longer, folks, to make sure there's maybe no further explanation given by the attorneys. This is going to be very different and unlike anything we've really seen before and what we were expecting here.
March 3rd, Tuesday, March 3rd. That's the verdict. That's the verdict.
March 3rd?
Yes, so March 3rd will be the verdict.
Correct. He's going to ask the bench trial. Yeah, he's going to.
Oh. Well, we were just getting an explanation there when our photographer cut off the shot. So I apologize for that. So essentially, I think I've gotten very clear what is going to happen. We heard just a brief explanation there by her attorneys. Both sides have stipulated. You hear the word stipulated. That means both sides agreed. Both the defense and the state agreed. There are only 5 pieces of evidence in this case. The 2 police reports, which will then, of course, include body cam video. And it's on that body cam video that you hear Ruth Miller tell the deputies and the park staff at Atwood Park that she felt she wasn't being faithful to God and that she gave her son to God. And that's when she threw her 4-year-old son in the lake. They asked where her husband Marcus was. She said that Marcus, they found his clothes down on the dock and that he had gone down to the lake to prove himself that morning to God, of which the investigators think he went for some kind of swim and did not survive. Ruth Miller told deputies that if they got divers and went to the bottom of the lake, they would find a large fish that swallowed her son, or swallowed her husband, that's where her husband was, but authorities obviously believe that he went for that swim to prove his faith to God and did not survive. But Ruth Miller contested that he was in the belly of a fish at the bottom of the lake. So here's what has just happened. Both sides have stipulated, have agreed that there's only 5 pieces of evidence here, the 2 police reports, including body cam, and the 3 mental health evaluations that were ordered, one ordered by the judge, one ordered by the state, and one ordered by her own attorneys. We were sort of expecting that on March 3rd that this would have gone to trial. Today was a little bit of a bombshell that we find out that she waived her right to a jury trial. We've seen that in the past. What we didn't expect is this idea that because both sides agree on the evidence, they don't need to call any witnesses. And this is not just a bench trial in that the judge is going to make the decision. It is a bench trial in that between now and March 3rd, the judge is going to review those 5 pieces of evidence and make his verdict on March 3rd. There will be no actual trial of here's a witness on the stand and here's the body cam video and here's this, that it will just be up to the judge in the next week to review all of the paperwork, including the doctor's testimony about her ability to understand what was happening that day, and does that meet the requirement of not guilty by reason of insanity. And the judge will, he did say he will give the attorneys on March 3rd at 10 a.m. A chance to make any final arguments, or if perhaps there was some evidence that came to light between then and now, they would have a chance to speak to the judge, but that he will be issuing a verdict on March 3rd. So there will be no public trial. Let's put it that way. Her trial will take place in the judge's chambers and with the judge studying the evidence in this case. This is quite the turn, quite the development today. And so very interesting. We've been following this. We were getting ready for gavel-to-gavel coverage of this trial. That is not going to be necessary any longer because the judge will be reviewing the information over the next week and making his verdict on March 3rd. That is going to be a very interesting day, to say the least, in regards to this case. Will the judge find her not guilty by reason of insanity? So I'm glad we had this coverage live. You watched it play out here on our digital platforms on 19 News Plus. Where I'm going to have the update for us here at our 3 or 4 o'clock news. Harry Boomer is in the courtroom. He will appear in our 5 o'clock news. So until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, and in regards to this case, we'll see you back here on March 3rd.